Hey everyone, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast. On this episode, we have Mark from the state of California, and he had a Bigfoot encounter many years ago one night with his friends near a national forest. Mark claims he could hear the creatures walking around the woodline, and he even saw a silhouette of it, and the shape turned into two different creatures, so it seemed like they were following each other, and generally, I have noticed through my research that they will travel in threes. But of course, the research always varies, and sometimes you'll run into one, maybe the whole clan, but generally, these things are traveling in threes. I don't know why, but that is from my experience personally, and I think they do that when they're hunting. Alright, if you guys can, subscribe to the channel or resubscribe if you've been unsubscribed from the channel, and hit the like button, comment down below, and be sure to hit the bell notification. If you've ever had a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter, please get in touch with me sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And with all that being said, let's dive straight into Mark's Bigfoot encounter from the state of California. All right, Mark, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. Mark, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
Okay. My name is Mark, and I grew up in Santa Cruz County. That's in California. And basically, let's see here. So basically, this encounter was one time when we were teenagers, and I was with my two friends. And this was back in about 1987, and we know it was in the summer because we were out of school, and we've broken it down to either 1987 or 1988, not sure, but anyways. There's this town called Aptos, which is in Santa Cruz County, and it's basically one of my friends lives sort of right on the edge of a national forest, so. It would make sense for this kind of story to be around something like that, because that's usually where Bigfoot is anyways. So let's see here. So I was like 17. My one friend, I'm calling his nickname is Rabbit. And then our other friend, I haven't talked to him, and I don't want to use his real name, so we're calling him Jamie. And he was 15. So it was basically 15, 16, and 17 years old. And Jamie and I had recorded music that day, and his parents have like a music studio, and we would record it on a cassette tape. And Rabbit and I had actually gone to a party, and we left there about midnight. And since I was, we weren't really drinking or doing drugs or anything like that, so I was driving. So we went over to Jamie's house, and we just thought, hey, we want to go listen to the music we had recorded, and we decided to go to this tree fort we have that is pretty much kind of in his backyard, which is across this big field, and toward the edge of the national forest where it starts. And my car is only a two-seater, and so his mother actually kind of has like a nanny, and she has a nanny car, and she's always given me permission to use it if we ever needed it. So we just grabbed the keys, and and this car is important to know that I didn't know this car very well, so this will come up later as well. And so we ended up taking this Audi, and we basically drive down to the big main road because we're in this one little housing area. And we need to get to this tree fort without walking across this big long field. We go over to the next kind of neighborhood. So we drove up there, and of course, we're probably showing everybody this map, and you can see where it says car there, and you can also see where it says nearest house. You see that in the bottom right-hand corner there?
Yeah.
So that little road right there kind of like leads off to like three houses way up there, about a mile or two up. And so basically anything, and this is north pointing up, by the way, anything up here is in the Nicene National Forest Parks. And in that road that's right there in the middle, it says does not exist. wasn't there in 1987. So I obviously wrote that there. And I also, you can show everybody also the other map I sent you, which is 2003, which is more closer to what it looked like back in those days. But the satellite's not that great, so this map's a little better to use. But so we ended up parking the car at this. You can, right in front of the car, you can see there's a little road right there. It goes up to like a water tank on the top of the hill, and there's a chain that goes across there. So there's just enough room to get off the road and like park the car right there at the chain. And then you can see the yellow dots. We just walk to the left and go that way over to the tree fort. And then the tree fort is like 30, maybe 40 feet in height. And the fort itself is just a platform on the top of the tree. So it's almost like a deck up there. And so it's really amazing, actually, because you can just basically sit 3 or 4 people up there, and you're not holding on to anything. It's literally somebody built a entire, like almost like a deck on top of this fort, on top of this tree. So so we're hanging out, and yes, it's 1 a.m. Obviously, it's really late. We've never gone to this tree before at the middle of the night like this before. So this is kind of unusual. And we were just playing music out there. And then my one friend gets my attention, and he says, "Look," and I look over his shoulder, and there's this, I wrote on the map, skinny tree. And there's this tree that is about the height of our tree. And the top of it is literally swinging back and forth like 5 feet back and forth. And there's no noise. I don't hear any animal down there doing this or anything, but I mean, so there's nothing growling or anything. But I'm like, that there's no way some human could be moving that tree. So it was just kind of startling. And it definitely was to them, because these I'm going to tell you right now, these 2 friends of mine were more scared than I was. I said, maybe it's a good idea if we stay up here, like thinking like a bear, even though we don't have bears in this area. And they're like, no, we're getting out of here. So my one friend, I didn't know it at the time, but he took the cassette player, right, that I told you that we recorded our music on. He flipped the tape over and he hit record. So he's literally recording this moment going forward. And he climbs down the tree, Jamie, then Rabbit, and then I followed last, which kind of sucked, right? And we didn't have any flashlights or anything like that, and it was a full moon, so everybody knows as well. And at the bottom of the tree is extremely dark. Luckily, I didn't hurt myself, but I do remember almost rolling my ankle because you have to drop from the last branch. And luckily, I thought they would just take off, but no, they waited for me. And as soon as I hit the ground, I mean, we just all started booking it. And if you can see where it says the pink, the pink line where it says thick wall of bushes, I was talking to Rabbit the other day. We had an 8-hour phone call just recently, and he told me the reason those bushes are like that is because there's actually an old school, like Western fence, wooden fence with a barbed wire between it, and the bushes have grown over it to the point where it's like in, a wall that you cannot get through. And so it was kind of nice having that there, because we knew where the tree was shaking was on the other side. But we, besides that moving, so far we haven't really been startled by anything. So we just start running down the dotted line again, and I literally could hear on the other side of that, I call it the wall, I could hear thumps. It was just like something is heavy and it's pacing at the same speed I am, and it's like thump, 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 thump. And we're running down this dotted line. And then when you can see as it gets out into especially if you look at the 2003, I think map is what it is. It's not as many trees as you see here now, but as you get halfway down the dotted line, you're just out in the middle of the open, and the moon's out. And this thing I knew, because I've gone, there's trails here where you can take your bikes back here. And I've known that if you go the wrong way, you either get stuck on the right side or the left side. You get forced back to the right, which is the red dots. So whatever this is, what's following us, definitely got forced to go to the right. And so when we got out to the field, we're looking around, we didn't see nothing. It felt like we just lost it. So anyway, we're not going to stand around. So we booked it over to the car. And if you want to zoom in on the little image here, which I'm going to do right now, you notice that the yellow dots kind of fort as you get closer to the car. They kind of like turned right and went down this little mini trail that takes you right, like directly to the car, but like and directly to the road below the car. And I don't know why, but I just went straight because I just know that going straight just takes you like right to the front of the car. So I wasn't sure why they did that. And you can see it circled moonlight. Well, all the moon was lighting up this whole area, including the road. And so our one friend Jamie, he's got that ghetto blaster. It's kind of like in this bag, and he's swinging it like a helicopter. And he's literally saying, "I'm going to be careful with my language here. I will effing kill you if you come over here." And he kept saying that for a little while. And then I heard Rabbit. He says, like, "Where's Mark?" And so I had basically, when I got to the front of the car, I quickly I didn't quite meet up with them because I was taking a piss, which would probably take only about 20 seconds. And he comes running up, and he grabs my shoulder and my sweatshirt on my shoulder, and I could tell he was really scared. And by the way, in the phone call recently that I just talked to him, I didn't remember this part. He said I actually jumped out and scared him. So I'm thinking, why the hell would I do that in a situation like this? But it kind of rang a bell, and I kind of remember that now. And I'm thinking, well, that's because we lost it. It was gone. Like, it's nowhere around. So anyway, so he drags me down to the road, and you see the three little squares. So we're all standing there. But the reason our one friend was swinging the helicopter saying all that is he's saying, listen, and we could hear like large leaves getting crunched and kind of like broken branches, not like the kind where you're breaking big trees, but like forcing your way through some like thick, bush. And that's where it says the dark area. So whatever this is was forced to the right, and it's coming to the road, and we can't see it. It's just, we can just hear it. And eventually it gets to the road, so that all that kind of noise stopped. But then a new noise came, and you could hear sliding feet. It was like, like, I don't know how to explain it. Let's see. It wasn't it was like really slow, but it was like it was sliding its feet. And this road has got like dirt and rocks. So it was kind of like, I can't know if I can make the noise here, and then stop, and then another one. And then as it got closer to where it would now be where the moonlight is, you could start to see a silhouette. And the silhouette was still kind of far away. This might be like 50 yards from us, and or maybe 40 yards. I would say approximately 40 yards. And as it got right to where it would be in the moonlight, it stopped short of the moonlight. And then that's when we've all agreed, we all saw it. It squatted. And it was like it was observing us or checking us out or something like that. And then it stood back up. And then it proceeded forward again and came right out into the moonlight. And then it was still continuing to go real slow and sliding its feet. And I mean, to this day, I always think why it did that. And I think it was kind of it's this way of letting us know that it's coming, but it just wasn't trying to startle us and stuff, and was curious or something like that. Now, why we just didn't leave, I don't know. And according to these guys being so scared, they didn't just tell me to go. So I don't know why we just didn't leave, but we didn't leave. So we were just standing there kind of watching this silhouette coming toward us that I always said maybe about 7 feet. They're saying it's more like just a regular tall human, so maybe 6.5 feet. And I think maybe about 7 feet silhouette, but no neck. It just literally, the head was the same width coming down to the body. And then I could definitely see arms, but no fingers. So the hand, you could definitely see that there was a hand shape as well. But I do agree with Rabbit. He keeps mentioning how he says it was like this, we're looking at this silhouette that looked like about as thin as a piece of paper. And I kind of agree with him, but I just don't know if that's just our eyes tricking with us. If this, let's say if it was a Bigfoot, it was, and the moonlight's hitting it. It reminded me of like someone holding the silhouette made of sheet metal walking toward us where the moon was reflecting off of it kind of strangely. And I don't know if that's how fur acts in the moonlight. I just don't know because, I'm not an expert in this kind of stuff. But anyway, so it kept coming toward us, and then maybe now it's like 30 yards away or something, and then it just stopped again. And it literally, my memory is not great at this point, but it's like it divided into two, or maybe there was one behind the other one and it stepped off to the left. But either way, it ended up being two of them now. And that is when I thought I was seeing double vision. And I literally physically rubbed my eyes and I'm like, no, this is not double vision. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, like, this has got to be a prank. It's a neighbor pissed off at us for playing music in the tree. It's got to be something like that. And, but it's just not adding up now. And I'm like, this is not making sense. So this is when I reached in my pocket to get the keys to the car ready. And I kind of just got it out and like pinched on it. And so I would have it ready the minute we need to leave, which I have no idea to this day why we still just didn't leave yet. Like, why are we still standing there? So I have no answer for that. And then now there's two of them, and then they start moving toward us with the sliding feet thing again, and they're coming toward us. And I think 20 yards, we can let it get up to us. And that's it. And I says, we're out of here. I literally said that, we're out of here. And I turn around. Anyways, I always, this whole event, it's like 4 stages: the tree fort, running to the car, watching, and then this last stage, like we called it, locked out of the car. So this is just another fact of what happened, and it's just strange. But I basically turn around again. I don't know this car very well, and I open the driver door. I get in, and Rabbit gets in the it's a 4-door Audi, and I looked it up, and I think it's like a 1985 S5000 or 5000S or something like that. And he gets in the door behind me, and then our friend Jamie, that I'm calling him Jamie, goes around the over to the driver's side, and we got in, of course, faster than he could because he has to go around. So we ended up closing our door, and we lock our door like it's a habit, right? Because you're trying to, I guess we're just making sure that nothing's going to come open the door, and so because we're in a panic mode, and we lock the door. And unfortunately, that locked our friend out of the car. And so he's grabbing the door handle on that side and saying, let me in. And then he's banging the window so hard every time. I thought he was literally going to break the window. And my heart would just sink every time he hit it. And so the car's dark. I don't have the key in the ignition, and I don't know this car very well. And so this is putting me under a lot of pressure. So I just kind of go over to the left to lift the lock up, like any common sense, right? That's what you would think to do. But on this kind of car with an Audi, the lock is like the shape of a little like your pinky, the tip of your pinky. And it's designed so you can lock it, but it's not designed so you can open it from there. So there's like just a little stub sticking up. And so I'm like trying to grab it. So I took 4 fingers and I'm like pinching it, and I got it to come up a little bit and then kind of like repinch it. And I'm just lifting on it, and I'm lifting, and I'm yelling at Rabbit, lift your lock, lift your lock. And he says, I'm trying, I can't. He goes, I can't grab it. And then I says, I'm pinching it, try pinching it. And so we're like just trying to lift it up. Jamie is out there, I won't saying his real name, pounding on the window, just let me in, let me in. And we just like feel so bad for him. And so I don't remember, because I was, like I said, I had the 8-hour call just recently, and Rabbit said that he either reached over and just grabbed the door handle on the door of for the door he's trying to get in and opened it that way, or, which I don't believe, I think because of what his Jamie's mom told us later, we ended up breaking the locks. So I think we ended up forcing the lock up, and which are not supposed to open that way. And then the door did unlock, and he was able to get in. And the first thing that he said when he got the door, when he jumped in, he says, hit the brakes, which was a great idea. And the second genius thing that he did that night was recording with the tape and then telling me to hit the brakes. So I hit the brakes, and we all looked out the back window, and we didn't get to focus on them coming toward the car during this time because we were trying to get him in the car. So I asked Jamie where they were when he got in, and he says they were right there at the trunk. They were literally came to the trunk and just were standing there. And so when we hit the brakes, there was nothing there. So, maybe they had time to run off or whatever. I don't know the answer to that. But his mother told us, in fact, she had to take the car to the shop and have the locks fixed. We had broken the locks. So if somebody can post in the comments on this type of Audi vehicle, because Rabbit, kind of argues that if he holds the handle up, you can't unlock it while he's holding it. But I don't believe that. I just believe that you're not even supposed to open the locks for there, because it's not designed it doesn't have like a big tip on the top to grab and lift. So if you lift it up from there, I'm pretty sure we broke the locks to be able to have that happen. But and then I said, of course, something stupid, and I got the car started, and I said, why don't we go up that road with the lights and bright lights and see if it ran up the road? And I mean, as soon as I said that, there were 6 hands on that wheel, and I says, all right, everyone, let go. I'm turning the wheel to the right as we started backing up, and then of course we left, went back to Jamie's house, and we listened to that tape 2 or 3 times, and obviously it's just going to be him screaming and a little bit of whatever we had said, but that was pretty incredible, and I still wish I had gotten a copy of that tape till this day. And that tape does exist, but because his mom had a recording studio because of her band, and then she used to buy him cassette tapes all the time. He still has like this chest of like over 2,000 cassette tapes. He never labeled it, and so it's still mixed with a bunch of lost tapes in there. Of course, if it was me, I would have found the recording by now, but he's just not that way, and I'm never going to be able to convince him to go kind of like trying to find it. So unfortunately, it's just sitting in this chest to this day, and I would love to get my hands on that and hear it again. But that is it, Miguel. So
All right, Mark, I appreciate you for sharing that with me. And I kind of feel like the creature was thrown off guard whenever you guys went to the treehouse. What do you think these creatures were doing in that moment? Do you think they were already there, present in the area, or do you think they came down to check out what you guys were doing?
Well, after, like, okay, obviously it's been what, I don't know how many decades, I can't count, 4 decades, right? 5 decades now. I'm in my 50s. If you look at the bottom right of the map, I kind of crossed out the name there a little bit because I don't want people going out to this area. I think it's private property now, but that trail, it says Woods Trail, and they can probably figure it out from that, but that takes you to the Nicene Marks National Forest. And it drops behind this neighborhood. The whole neighborhood's down there in the bottom right hand corner. It's a big neighborhood. And I think that they heard the music, or there's actually, to the left of us, there's a whole nother neighborhood that comes off from another road, completely different, miles away to get up to that area. But there's homes over there, and it's really wooded, and they could have came up from that way. But if they did, they would have been on the side of the thick walls we did. So I think they had came up from the Woods Trail and came directly across, just like they came directly back that way over to the road when we were over the car, and they got to us, but they couldn't get across the wall, so they just started shaking the tree, and it was the music that did it. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, obviously, during a lot of this time, I just thought, we pissed off a neighbor, and there's a neighbor messing with us, but it's just not possible. Not after what we saw, especially all the. Anyways, but so I think it could have just behind the car, it could have dropped down into those woods and be back down in the Woods Trail there, and go down that way again and be gone into the National Forest. But
yeah, so you feel like the music kind of ticked them off?
No, I think it more attracted them, and like I just watched your last episode recently. I think it was 2 episodes now, actually, and the guy with his 2 friends, they were teenagers, and you said that maybe because we were teenagers attracted them. Obviously, they don't know we're teenagers, but they're like, why is there music coming from the middle of the forest? So they went to go check it out, and then now they're tripping out because there's these kids at the top of a tree playing this music. So yeah, they weren't scared. They didn't scare them, but they were still intrigued, and they were slowly approaching us as well when we were over on the road. So they were cautious as well. That's the way I see it. I mean, if they wanted to hurt or attack us, I don't know why we were still standing there. They had they could have easily especially if they were actually Bigfoot, that big and strong, we would have had no chance for sure. So why we let them get that close? They had all the opportunity, especially when our friend was locked out. I mean, it took a while for us to get that door open for him. I could say he hit that window probably 30 to 40 times, and it's I feel bad for him still to this day that kind of happened to him, because that was really terrifying for him, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like they were trying to
Yeah.
scare you guys out of the area, especially when you said that the creature was like shuffling its feet and making like these skidding sounds. I guess that's the word. But like, was it kind of sliding its feet on gravel whenever you mentioned
Yeah,
the
it's a
noise?
it's a gravel road with rocks, and it was sliding its feet really nice and slow and long strides.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was, I don't know. Was it trying to tell us, hey, I'm coming towards you, not startling you, and letting us know, because it had to start from it had to start from the darkness. But we already knew it was there because because we knew how to get to the car without going through bushes, obviously, and it it did not know where it was going, and it took the worst possible path ever. Like, I know these woods here, and nobody goes through the way it went through. Like, that's not a path. So it was a pretty retarded way to go. Like, it didn't know the area like we know it. Nobody goes that way.
Yeah.
It's
And the
kind of
moment
funny.
you laid eyes on the creature, you could see the silhouette of it. You can kind of see some shine on the
Uh,
fur. Is that correct?
I don't know if it was shine on fur. It was 100%. You could see the silhouette of a like that. I've been learning this name, bipedal primate. Like, it was definitely two-legged person standing up, but it was not a human, because there was no neck. It was 100% a huge head, and it went straight down to the shoulders, and it was huge shoulders, and then the arms were huge and long, and you could see these massive hands but no fingers. It was never I never saw a single finger, but you could tell you're seeing hands. So it was really strange. And the way Rabbit explains it is, he says it was like these what did he say? He calls it like, what do you call it when you go through those transport windows or whatever people are saying, those he said it was like a void, and it was coming toward him, and it was going to suck him in. That's But he was also, he told me he was really scared. I mean, I knew when he grabbed my shoulder, and I was saying boo to him. I really wasn't that scared. I really thought we were being pranked from the beginning, but not until this thing did the squatting thing and it was coming to. I was kind of like blown away. I was like, what am I seeing? this is not this is not normal. So that's when everything changed on me.
Yeah.
um
That is
yeah.
interesting. I had a strange encounter around here years after my eye sighting encounters. I was researching the area, and it had just got done raining, and I was walking through the forest real quiet in my ghillie suit, and I was taking a few steps and stopping, and I would do some owl calls, and then I'd take a few more steps, and I was moving through the woods, and I was just kind of standing there getting ready to go back to my house, and all of a sudden I hear something coming towards me, and it's this black figure hiding behind like a cedar tree, and it's bobbing its head up and down, kind of like, I don't know, like a turkey or something, but it's a lot bigger and it's jet black. And it came up on me really quick. Well, whenever it moved, there was like two other figures behind it bobbing their heads up and down. And I just couldn't make out what it was. Well, when they figured out what I was, they took off running down the ridge and down to the creek bottom. But they came up bipedal, like on two legs. And then whenever they took off on all fours. But one of them was so big that it ran like a cheetah. Whenever it was sprawled out, it was just huge. I know it wasn't
Yeah.
a bear, but it seems like they'll move together, like in a line, and then kind of like split. I don't know how to explain it, but you mentioned that one creature turned into two, so maybe they run together.
Yeah, I was thinking one was just smaller and hiding behind the other one, and you could just never tell because it was such a wide body, and it then went off to the side. Or it was like, it's like my brain still plays tricks on me, or it was like it split into two. But it's weird is it's like, I never, like, when it did the sliding feet thing, you could hear it. I really never remember seeing feet, like you could see them and they're sliding across the ground. Not like it didn't have it. It's just that probably, my memory doesn't, or even not even the memory. Why would I be focused on its feet, right? You're more focused on the like when you want to, like when you're scared and looking at something, you're more focused on their chest and head areas. So I know it's just looking down there. But the weirdest part is why, at one point, I do agree with Rabbit. It seemed like it was like this thin piece of sheet metal coming toward us that was cut out in the shape of a silhouette of a I want to say a Bigfoot or just a huge large person, but obviously not a human because again I'll never forget the neck. There was no neck. It was like if somebody did a cutout, they did a cutout of a Bigfoot. And of course I was never thinking Bigfoot at all that night or even I don't even know, over the years I've more started learning more and more about it. And I knew about it before, but I've never really put the two together. We called it the dark shadow people. And so it was more like a shadow to us for the whole time during that era, right at the time. But I think the closest thing that fits for me is a Bigfoot because I don't see it. It wasn't like a ghost floating across the ground, especially when you can hear the feet sliding and stuff like that. But never made a noise. That was also strange. Like it never made any noise or anything. Why it never, I don't know. It's just really strange.
Yeah, it is, and it's difficult to find the proper terminology to describe these experiences.
Yeah. I just remember I was so happy we had that thick wall when we had to go down the tree to get back down to leave. Like that was like life saving. I mean, it's tall too. Like the real fence isn't that tall, but the way the bushes grew up over it, it's you can't see over it. It's really tall, and I might not even have it 100% right on that 2018 map, but I found you can go back in time for the Google thing maps, and 2003 is the only one that I can show you where it's closer to the amount of trees and stuff, which is a lot less, but it's really low quality. And then if you go to the one before that, I think is 1985, and it's completely blurry because it's really low pixels. Until you zoom out, you can't see so. The 2018 was the easiest one to like really show how the road is in the nearest house and all that stuff. I was surprised that the cops never came with my friend screaming, and that house being right there. It's like, well, you would have thought that the neighbors would have called the police. It's 1 a.m. and he's screaming and don't come over here or effing kill you. And they weren't scared by that, so that whatever it was intimidating. I was thinking, no, this is not a prank now, because who the hell would keep coming after that? That was the one thing I kept thinking when I was up at the front of the car and I was taking a piss, and then he was screaming that.
Yeah. And
he got to the road first, so he could hear him coming through the bushes. I guess I didn't notice yet, and I scared my friend Rabbit. He says, I kind of remember that now that he said that. I just finished peeing, and he came running up, and because it was really dark up in that area a little bit, and I went back, kind of just went boo, but nothing serious. But he didn't care. He just grabbed my shoulder and walked me back down to the road. He was in like a serious mood or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely cryptids in the Santa Cruz area, and I think I took a dogman report from that area a few years ago.
What is that? What is that?
I'd have to send it to you later, but a guy that was an ex-professional baseball player, he watched this dogman climb up one of those walls that you're talking about, and he thinks that it was coming into people's yards and killing their dogs because people's dogs kept going missing, or they'll find them all shredded up.
Oh, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, definitely.
I just recently found out. I was calling my friend, and he was happened to be driving through Felton. And when I mentioned this story, I told him I was going to do this interview. This is like 3 days ago. He goes, "I'm driving right past Bigfoot Museum in Felton right now." And I'm like, "What? There's a museum in Felton?" I go, "I guess that would make sense because I mean, even up in that area where Felton and Ben Lomond is, this is because he was going to one of his old house properties. It's major big redwoods up there, and probably bigger, forest than this national forest I'm talking about here, even though this one's pretty big too. But yeah, this would be stomping ground for them. So that museum, I went and looked at it tonight before our call tonight, and they have like the castings of the footprints and stuff like that. So so I guess there is evidence of the Bigfoot around here. I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever had any other experiences after this?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nope. No, and I like I was gonna tell you earlier that I was maybe gonna mention not, but I played professional disc golf and went all over the country. We went to all kinds of different courses, and you're not deep in the woods, but you're some of them were. You were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but obviously there's a lot of people out playing disc golf, so I'm sure you wouldn't see them. They're not gonna come out when there's a lot of people around, but no, this I've never. So, but I'm not a woodsman, and so I. It's not like I'm out hunting, so where people may see it more often, especially depending on where you are too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And have you ever had any paranormal experiences in your life?
no, I mean I wasn't going to mention one thing, but it was a UFO sighting at the same my friend's house that's near here. So I guess there was another paranormal thing, but that was really kind of quick and short, and I mean, I could tell you if you want to hear it. It's just kind of, it's just a weird night, and it was only like a 5 minute thing, but it didn't make any sense. And I mean, it does make sense. It didn't make sense, but I don't know. It was weird. Um, but this was so. Remember, this was 1987. So like years later, his parents had moved to another place, and they gave that house to him, right? And he had to get roommates to be able to afford to keep it. And so I ended up being a roommate. And one night I go out like 1 in the morning again in the backyard. So this is not too far from here. And we had these two trees in the backyard. And it's like a field goal. I was just looking that way, and I saw this like these three lights, different colored lights, and in a triangle formation. And basically, it was sitting right above one of our neighbor's house. And I'm like, what is like an idiot? I yelled out really loud, out loud, UFO, right? Because it's just stupid kid thing. That's what you thought you saw, so that's what you yell. And I yelled that out, and it knew I yelled that. I mean, it knew immediately, and it started wobbling, and it like literally dodged behind one of the trees, the two trees I was looking at in between. So what did I do? I ran 5 feet to the left, and I had it in between the two trees again, and it went over behind the other tree. So I ran to the right, and I could see it in full view again. So it knew I could see it, and every time it just kept dodging me, and it did that like 6 or 7 times, and then slowly started. I guess it tricked me in a way to make it seem like it just was like I don't know how to say it, um, like it just got smaller and smaller and smaller, and I think it just kind of backed away, and then just kind of went faster and faster and faster to the point where it seemed like it really was never there in a way. I don't know, but it figured out it finally figured out a way to kind of bail off without being too obvious, and and that was it. And then of course Jamie, I'm calling him. He goes, yeah, I heard you yell that. You woke us up because I was right below his bedroom, which was right above us the next day. So I told him the story, but um, yeah. So that was my one UFO experience,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I appreciate that. And a lot of
yeah,
people are seeing this triangle craft floating through the sky, or sometimes it's stationary, and
yeah.
it makes you wonder
It is,
what they're up to.
well, and what's so stupid is like, well, why the fuck do you advertise that you're there with three fucking bright lights? Like, if you're like that technology, why do you need to have those lights? I wouldn't have known it was there if it didn't have the lights. And anyways, I always felt like, well, what the fuck was it doing anyways? It was spying on that house. I don't know. It was weird. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mark, I
yeah,
think that pretty well wraps up your experiences, and I appreciate you for getting in contact with me and sharing them here on Sasquatch Theory.
yeah. Yeah, I always wanted to finally get this story out. I'm 54 now. That was when we were teenagers. So back then, it wasn't like, we had the internet and all that. And so I think this is your channel was like the one that you said, hey, contact us. So I finally says, you know what? I think I will. So I finally share that, get it kind of out. I really want to kind of, I don't know what that word is, but vent it and get it out, and let everybody else kind of, I want to see some feedback from the listeners because yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I'll be interested to see if there's other people in this same area that have had
yeah,
experiences, and I'm sure there has been.
Yeah, I really want my friend to go through those tapes. I mean, I know one thing. He says he never labeled that one. It's on side B. So all we'd have to do is divide up all the tapes to the ones that aren't labeled, and then just start listening to the ones on side B. So I'm being a little scientific here, but we would find it a lot faster than listening to all 2,000 of them to try to find it. But he's never going to do that, unfortunately. He's just, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes your friends, they're like, it's just one of those types of friends. He's not interested in like going and trying to locate it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah. Because me, if I owned those tapes, I would have found it a long time ago, and I would love to share that with everybody. So.
Okay. Well.
All right.
Yeah, you did a great job, man.
I had fun.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you letting me share my story, and I really appreciate it, Miguel. Thanks very much, man.
Yep. Thank you so much, and you have an excellent day, my friend.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. All right, Mark, thank you again for sharing your Bigfoot encounter with me here on Sasquatch Theory, and I always enjoy listening to Bigfoot encounters, especially from the state of California. And before I ever believed in Bigfoot, when I used to listen to a lot of Sasquatch Chronicles, I always thought in the back of my mind, if Sasquatch exists, it's going to be in Northern California, Oregon, Washington, Canada, and Alaska. And then later on, I found out that these creatures are living around me, and I ended up having encounters where I've lived at my entire life. So that really blew my mind, and that just goes to show that people are very unaware of this subject because they've simply never experienced anything, they've never seen anything, and when they hear about these things, they disregard it and dismiss it. So they are around, and yeah, that just sounds like an excellent place for Sasquatch to be hanging out at. And it sounds like they were being a little territorial, but they were also feeling a little froggy, and they will approach people, especially when they hear people talking, and they come out at nighttime. Of course, they're rummaging around during the daytime, but at nighttime, they just get really confident and they move around freely. They are aware that people cannot see very well at nighttime, and that just makes sense to me. I notice here where I live out in the country, the deer come out and they feed in the yard all night long, and then when you wake up, you don't see any deer. You just see their tracks, their droppings, or if you go out at nighttime, they take off running. So they know when people go to bed, and just when people aren't out in the woods in general. All right, I appreciate everyone for listening today and for everyone's support. If you have a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share with me sometime, please feel free to get in touch with me. Until the next one, guys, you be safe out in the forest.